wasn't very confident. I had like imposter syndrome, especially because the blog kind of took off really quickly and people were like, you are the Salesforce expert. And I was just like, I know some things, but not everything.
Today, I'm speaking with Ben McCarthy, Salesforce MVP and founder of Salesforce Ben, one of the most influential Salesforce community platforms. What began as a side project and blog in 2014 has evolved into a global hub for learning, connection, and insight on Salesforce, AI, and the future of CRM. Welcome, Ben. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
I've been following your journey for some time. I'm looking here, over 100,000 LinkedIn followers. Can't even imagine your website hits. Did you know this is what you would be doing when you started this?
I had no idea. I'm the kind of person that kind of wants a project at any one time. Like this summer, it was my garden, like getting that all done. And
Okay.
Back 11 years ago, it was starting a WordPress website. It was before Trailhead and things like that. And it was just really like me writing about my experience as an admin, common solutions, best practices, things like that. And it grew very, very quickly. I think it was kind of right place, right time, right kind of content that people wanted. And no, I did not expect it to get where it is today. It's, pretty crazy.
That's incredible. So tell us, you were an admin before. Give us a little bit of color about that story. How did you get into the ecosystem?
So I graduated from college in information systems, which is kind of like perfect, right? It's kind of like half business, half computer science. And got a job as an graduate IT consultant. I had no idea what I was going to be consulting on day one, this platform called Salesforce. And it just kind of like clicked instantly because I've never been a developer, I can't code.
Okay.
But with the Salesforce platform, I could just do so much. The concept of, relational databases and automation and was kind of things that I, learned in uni. I was almost like, I didn't know what I was going to do in the world. But then when I discovered Salesforce, it sounds kind of cheesy, but honestly, it just clicked. And then went on to become an admin. I worked for Conga for a while. I was like one of the first employees in the UK, which is pretty cool because they're like, I don't know, I think they've just acquired someone. They're huge, like 3,000 people or something. And then I worked, I was a managing director for a consultancy for a while. Left that and then full-time at Salesforce Ben. And I always thought I could go full-time at Salesforce Ben, but I was just like, I'm running it with like 8 hours a week, so what am I going to do like the whole time? And now, there's so much to do, we can't do it all. So.
Now you've got people all across Europe and the US?
Yeah, so we're based out of London in Shoreditch. We got an office there. We got 35 people now, which is just crazy to say. Across Europe as well. So, we got kind of our events director, marketing team, content team, technical content team. We got journalists now. And there's just so much news coming out from Salesforce directly, constantly, but also some of the partners that we work with release, reports and stuff like that. So it's just covering everything and anything going on in the Salesforce ecosystem.
You're like a walking case study here, from admin to success. You're an entrepreneur. It's exactly what we want with our community. Talking about community, you've probably seen some incredible stories of transition, growth. Is there one that comes to mind of either an individual or something that's happened in the community that's particularly special?
I think so. Salesforce is the only community ecosystem, really the only job I've ever known. I remember a bit of a selfish story, but I remember when I was blogging and I was kind of working towards becoming an MVP. And, when the email came through, I just jumped out of bed and I just started like jumping around my hotel room.
I think anyone would.
It was insane. But I wasn't very confident. I had like imposter syndrome, especially because the blog kind of took off really quickly and people were like, you are the Salesforce expert. And I was just like, I know some things, but not everything. I came to Dreamforce for the first time when I was an MVP, and it was actually when Salesforce brought in the yacht.
Oh, wow. The cruise.
Yeah. And I kind of, went onto that on my own with all these MVPs, so nervous, but just anyone you meet, whether they're MVP, they work for an ISV, SI, everyone just seems to be on the exact same vibe. Everyone wants to give back, help you, friendly, which is, it's something I didn't expect coming into the kind of professional world. I've seen so many people kind of grow their careers with Salesforce. We hired graduates back when I was running a consultancy, and to see them kind of flourish in the ecosystem, it's an amazing place to be.
Wow, that MVP story is amazing. Most people probably don't know what that means. Like, what did you have to put in to get that?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about an MVP is because a lot of people are like, what do I need to do to become an MVP? And they're kind of, they really want to that's their goal. But the thing is, it shouldn't be a goal. The goal should be giving back to the community, creating content, helping people with their careers, and it's a nice bonus if it comes along. But you shouldn't expect it because
the journey is the reward.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was really just. I got it for just blogging. It's kind of I think I was writing probably 2 or 3.
Sharing knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sharing knowledge with the community and just trying to add value in any way.
What a fantastic story. So now you mentioned Trailhead hadn't even been, I don't think we'd invented it yet, right? So I guess fast forward now, you were learning on your own, now you've got Trailhead. How has the community transitioned over this time?
I think there's so many resources and avenues for support, So, you've got user groups and the user groups, in London in particular, because it's such a big city, are kind of split between architects, developers, admins. You've got resources like us, but you've also got SIs and ISVs doing webinars and, so many great Salesforce events as well now. So I think, Salesforce has kind of got... It's got a bit more complex over time. More features, more products, and I guess that could be quite overwhelming without the support that Salesforce provide, but also the community provide as well. There are so many people who just want to give back. YouTube channels, podcasts. Most of them aren't monetized at all. They just enjoy speaking about Salesforce and helping people. And I guess when you go to an event like this and people come up to you and thank you for what you're doing, it kind of makes it all worth it, because it's like, wow, I've had an impact, and it's it's this person is in front of me thanking me, and it's visible, it's not online. So and there's just so much out there at the moment. So
definitely a lot of content, but the community is very strong. And you mentioned that you were new into the community, but you've probably seen other things, other technologies. What do you think makes the Salesforce community so unique, though, right? Because other people and other organizations try to recreate it, but it's not easy. What do you think is the special sauce?
The special sauce of Salesforce, I think the big movement was when Trailhead came out, and the Trailblazer stories and that whole focus. People really saw that they could grow their careers with Salesforce, and it wasn't just this other kind of normal tech platform, but this company really wanted to drive people into the ecosystem, help with them with their careers. There's been so many great programs over the years that help different groups of people from different backgrounds that are specifically for that group of people. I think it's the support that kind of Salesforce put back to the community. I think Salesforce recognized what the community has done for them, and it's just about giving back and supporting people with their careers, really, because for a lot of people that's their number one priority. They want to support their family, and Salesforce, you can really keep growing and growing and growing. The amount of avenues you can go from, if you take like an admin role, the amount of avenues you can take from that is pretty insane. Developer, architect, entrepreneur, consultant. It's only going to grow with AI as well, and all the new roles that will be created out of that technology.
Let's pick that up. AI, I'm definitely going there. But before we do, there are people that are listening that might just be starting their journey. And you just mentioned, you might start as an admin, you go other areas. What do you recommend when someone asks, is there still opportunity for me, and how should I get going?
It's a good question, and I think the thing is, things are changing. If I look back to when I joined as an admin, that role is so different, almost indistinguishable from the role that an admin does today, because the platform has matured. It's got more features. Back then when I started, it was workflow rules. It was super simple, and now you have flow, which is basically like code. You can do anything with it. And with AI coming out as well, and Agentforce in particular, there's so many opportunities for admins to add value. So it is changing quite a lot. And I think it's very important to stay abreast of those trends, because if someone was looking maybe at a job 3 years ago for an admin, it's probably changed quite a lot since then. Just a little bit. So it's good to kind of, look at the job market and understand, and people always ask me, what advice would you have for admins or people? And my number one answer is add value to the business. What are the business's goals, and how can you help align that? It's not just adding an object, adding a new automation. It's how can you save this business money, add more value, help their customers more, or help the internal users be more productive.
Now, I won't make you pick sides, but is there admin communities somewhere in the world that are doing a better job than another place? Like, when I lived in the US, I saw that community, but then I saw what was happening in the UK, and then I tried to bring some of that back to APAC. Is anyone doing it better than anyone else?
I would love to say the UK just because I'm representing, but I don't know. I think the thing is, it's just so it's just so similar, right? Like, you know, you go to
Great politically correct answer there.
yeah, thanks. Yeah, I should be a politician. You know, you go to the UK and you meet people, and the you know, I came over to the US as I think I was 24 when I got made MVP. And you know, you can just get on with these people straight away. You've got a connection. They want to help you, especially as a young, you know, 24-year-old. They're interested in your journey and where you aspire to be. So, I don't think I could give you an answer on that.
They're doing a good job. So we talked about exciting new technologies and advancements. So of course, we've been talking about AI, agentic enterprises. How do people keep abreast of all this change, right? You mentioned when the admin started, it was a little bit simpler. Now there's so many new technologies. Is it a better time for new folks because they don't have, you know, the legacy in their mind, or is it, you know, what is the best way to keep abreast of all of this?
It's going to be a mix, I think, of consuming content online. You know, plug for Salesforce Ben.
Yes, great resource.
You know, thank you. But also, you know, Salesforce are doing so much now, and I think that's something that's so important because this technology is so new. There's kind of obvious use cases with agentic AI, you know, customer service and BDRs and stuff like that. But I think 99% of use cases probably haven't been discovered yet. I kind of talk about, you know, going on-premise to cloud. Like, you know, that was a huge transformation, but it was kind of taking one database and moving it onto the cloud. But this is just brand new, you know. So you know, the world, you know, as years go by, it's just completely changing in terms of the use cases. So consuming content, but also speaking to people. You know, something we want to do more at Salesforce Ben at our events is doing roundtables. I attended one last week at a media conference actually, and you know, people were just saying, "What have you seen work with AI? What have you seen not work?"
So
and
sharing
things like this.
stories.
Yeah, and that was ridiculous. You know, I got more value out of that than you know, consuming a lot of content online, because it was just real stories from real people. You know, one person said that they're seeing 4 times the productivity from AI BDRs than from their human ones, and the human ones are overseeing them, so they've still got the job. Yes. But yeah, just hearing those stories from real people is really impressive.
Yeah, and I guess it's the analogy of don't just practice the shooting of the hoops back home without playing any actual games, right? There is an element where practicing has diminishing returns, right? And you want to get in the game, and I think that's part of what the community offers, right? Being able to hear what other people are doing from different industries, different countries around the world. Do you see that AI is a bit more adopted in the US than you're seeing particularly in the UK and in Europe?
Everyone is excited by it, and I interviewed Capita, who are one of your kind of flagship Agentforce customers. So I mean, most people in the conference I went to last week were American, and great to hear from them. But I think, you know, people are taking different paths. You know, you've got like Capita, who said, I think their CEO said, we are going all in on agents now, and
Agentic Enterprise.
And yeah, exactly. And you know, and they've done that, whilst others are probably waiting to see what happens, doing their research. And so I think you're going to get a mix everywhere.
So a lot of technology is being released recently and continues to be released. What's exciting you? You know, where are you thinking the next big thing is for us?
Vibe coding and the developer tools is pretty crazy. And you know, you hear mixed feedback from people, right? Some developers say this is the future. Others say, no, don't like it. You know, there was a report that came out from 10K, who are, you know,
Salesforce partner.
Yeah, exactly. And the demand for developers is decreasing, which just shows the impact on that side. So, I mean, that's from a technical perspective. I think for me, in terms of, you know, the agentic enterprise, it's voice. Customer support in particular, everyone can relate to having a bad experience with customer support. And, you know, voice agents might be scary to some. Like, I don't want to speak to a voice agent, I want to speak to a human. But if the output is the same, it doesn't really matter. You know, if I can speak to an agent rather than waiting on hold for, you know, half an hour or something, and then speak to someone who needs to get someone else, if the agent can just all do it in 5 minutes, I'm absolutely fine with that. And that is going to be the future. You know, there's no doubt about it.
I agree. I think when people mention that they have customer support, most of the time it's compared against waiting in line. So it's already a low bar. So I think being able to have an agent that speaks, understands your language and has context is already leaps and bounds. And of course, with trust, you're sharing that it is an agent, right? That you're not talking to a human, but that you can at any time. So we've been talking a lot about the technology, but obviously a lot of what we deliver is for, you know, customer engagement. Are you seeing any trends or changes of what businesses are wanting to do with this technology to take advantage of it because of the changing behaviors of their customers?
When I speak to people, I think it boils down to kind of three main topics. It's like customer satisfaction, internal user satisfaction, using Salesforce, and then kind of overall productivity. For example, Capita, they have gone all in on AI, and they are trying to automate their end-to-end process. They're business outsourcer, so kind of recruitment things, and they're trying to do everything from someone applying for a job or searching for jobs, all the way through the business to them landing that job. So yeah, I think there are just so many use cases with customer experience.
So now you have grown from an individual, right, to large team. How are you thinking about agents for your own organization?
Yeah, so when I joined this roundtable last week, I was just like, I use ChatGPT, I'll have loads to add. And coming to this roundtable made me realize that we're a little bit far behind, and we're like a startup, stretched for time and resource.
But you're the perfect candidate then.
Yes, but I mean, there are loads, right? Like we, quite a lot of, some of our struggles in our business is quite a lot of what we do is in my brain, and I'm not so good at getting it out into documents and PDFs and things like that. I work with a lot of our ISVs, sponsors and SIs to kind of come up with creative campaigns. And because I've been doing this for like 11 years, I can kind of think quite quickly and come up with creative things. But I want to kind of put my knowledge somewhere that the team can access without me being the bottleneck and having to organize meetings with me. So something that I'm quite excited to do, Slack has a feature now where you can upload documentation, chat to an agent about those and ask questions and things like that.
The channel agent.
That is something I want to implement quite quickly because I'm hearing a lot of people and different apps out there where you can kind of just dump every podcast you've done, and and then basically, people can interact with you, and so really excited to try that out.
But that's an interesting one. We within the events team at marketing, we use that channel in Slack because we work a lot with our sales team. We have a lot of information about the events, right? Like think about how to register, when the event's happening, what special things we have, what customer sessions. And yes, we absolutely put that in a channel now where you can just have a salesperson talk to an agent, right? Yeah. And it handles 90% of the traditional questions, and anything else, once it gets answered by a human, will be there for the next person as well. So 100%. I think that's a great use case for you.
There was also one that I just thought of as well, which was someone in this roundtable mentioned this, where they've got they were all media people here, and they had an agent which looks over all their content, all the news which is coming out, and then suggests upsells and campaigns to their existing clients. And I know that's media, but I'm sure that can relate to most businesses in terms of when it's the right time or what's just happened in the news, which means it's a good time to reach out to this particular customer.
So talking about the future and what's exciting, what's coming up next for Salesforce Ben, apart from cloning yourself as an agent? What's coming up next?
That is step one. We are really just trying to add value to the Salesforce community in any way possible. Something really, really big for 2026 is we are doing more events, but we're also going to start a flagship conference towards the end of 2026, probably after Dreamforce in London. So we're trying to create like a unique event that kind of sits between an official Salesforce event and a community event, for executives and senior not just senior technical folks, but any technical folks, just to really learn kind of best practices and host things like these roundtables and because the world is changing so fast, and you asked earlier like what resources are there. There's just so much stuff out there, but I think the in-person connection is one of the most important ones, especially in this world of kind of online and social.
How do we get you down to Australia and the region, Ben? I think that will be the next one.
Pay for my flight and I will be there.
We're going to invite you to Salesforce Tower Sydney. Well, Ben, thank you again for everything you've done on your journey, from being an MVP to giving back to the community to now helping scale that knowledge around the world. Appreciate you making the time to speak to me today.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.